Today on Listen Up, two stories that have fallen out of the headlines but still demand the world's attention. The crisis in Pakistan and violence against women. That's next. Welcome to Listen Up, a Christian perspective on news that takes you deeper. I'm Lorna Duick. Today, our focus turns to two different topics: the nation of Pakistan, and then later in the program, violence against women. First, when heavier than normal monsoon rains hit Pakistan in late July, flooding began. 1/5 of the country's land and 21 million people have been affected. It will take years and an estimated $10 billion to recover. We'll explore the hope for that nation shortly. And later in the program, we explore violence against women, and we'll hear another kind of recovery story from a woman whose family tried to kill her, all in the name of honor. Finally, we'll bring you the incredible story of a woman who was a prisoner in an arranged marriage, brutally abused, looking death in the face, and lived to tell about it.
Within weeks of the marriage, I was hit. I actually ended up with a broken nose.
We'll hear more from Kamal later in the show, but first, we turn our attention to the nation of Pakistan. And joining me to update us on the situation there is Lindsay Gladding. She's an emergency response worker with World Vision Canada. Lindsay, you are just recently back. Help us feel, what is it like?
While I was in Pakistan, I was based mostly in Multan, which was the humanitarian coordination center set up for Punjab province. And I mean, we know that this disaster affected more than 20 million people. There was 3.5 million extremely vulnerable identified in Punjab. And so I was seeing severely malnourished children, a situation that I shouldn't have seen, which only indicated that this was an extremely poor nation to begin with.
And so the first thing is the vulnerable people had trouble finding food before. Now it's all underwater.
Absolutely.
Markets, fields, gardens.
Yeah. I mean, I spoke to some women who told me that they received no warning. So it was the middle of the night, water started rushing into their houses. They had to grab their children, any belongings that they could, and rush out to find higher ground. I mean, had to leave everything behind.
So are women and children, young children especially, the most vulnerable?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, many of these women and children would never have left their home prior to this emergency. And so they're in a new place, new communities where they don't know anyone, have no access to food, education, shelter. All of those basic humanitarian needs are not being met. It's a rolling disaster. You know, it started in the north of the country and has slowly moved down throughout the entire country. And so the needs and the situation that we're seeing in the north is very different than the south. The north is beginning to rebuild. People are returning to their homes, or what's left of them, trying to clean up and come back to some sense of normalcy. And then we're seeing communities in the south that are still cut off.
In all of that staggering need, you know what you're dealing with here in North America. We're saying this is donor fatigue combined with, we're not sure Pakistan should be trusted, that the money's really going to get to these needy families. What would you say to that critique?
I think, I mean, as with all of the programs that World Vision does internationally, we are very committed to making sure that money received reaches those that need it most. And so that means that we have extremely strict policies, both financial and programmatic, to make sure that money gets there. We often work with local partners and communities to make sure that our needs assessments identify those that are most vulnerable. We have beneficiary lists that are checked and rechecked, again, to make sure that we're targeting those that really need it, and that we can make sure that that's done in an accountable manner. The money that's coming from Canada and from donors around the world is reaching those that need it most.
Religion plays a big role in that part of the world. Christians, Muslims haven't always been able to work together well. Is this making any headway on that great need?
I mean, World Vision has a long-standing history in Pakistan. We've been there since '92 and have always been very open about our Christian identity. But I think what's important is that we make it very clear that we're not going to proselytize. We don't use any form of religious coercion, and we wouldn't work with an agency that did so. So whether that's Christian, Islamic, or otherwise, that's very clear. We're there based on humanitarian principles. We're there to meet the needs of the most vulnerable, regardless of religion, race, or creed. And so, well, it does. I mean, religion plays an important part of many people's lives. But when it comes to basic needs, that's not there.
Yeah, you're going because
absolutely
the need is so great, and obviously the sender, God, loves these people.
Absolutely.
Lindsay Gladding of World Vision Canada, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now a Canadian-Pakistani response. For years, Pakistan was their home, and now they're helping deliver hope back home. Ricky Ratliff reports.
It's not your average Sunday service at this local Mississauga church. Urdu replaces the English language. Native drums replace the organ. And joy replaces the fear many of these Christians had while living in Pakistan. Freedom to worship and equality are values they treasure for their new lives here in Canada. But with news of floods and suffering for their people, what occupies their hearts and minds is thoughts of home.
Now there's going to be more economic pressure on minorities and women.
It's good that right now, like, Pakistan is on headlines, so it's making people more aware of that country and the situations and the crisis that the country is going through.
The greatest need is to understand that we are also Pakistani. And Pakistan is not just for Muslim. You know, we are a part of that country too. Just wanted people should realize the love of God. They should develop in their heart.
We need to stop thinking about how different we are. We need to think that you are my brother, you're my sister. We need to understand that we are made, we all are made in the image of God. And we need to love one another.
I believe that there is always hope. And this is what we always pray for Pakistan, because it's a beautiful country.
For Listen Up TV, I'm Ricky Ratliff.
There's more to come, from nature's violence to violence against women. We take a walk into an educational journey.